into the spotlight.
Marvel's Black Panther has finally dropped, and it's making history at the box office over 50 years since the character first debuted in a Fantastic Four comic back in 1966. Originally created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby at the tail end of the civil rights movement, a lot of the early storylines were well-meaning but full of racist tropes. Wakandans were often portrayed as culturally primitive or noble savages, despite being the most technologically advanced nation on Earth. One of T'Challa's classic enemies, M'Baku, who is brilliantly reinvented in the movie by Winston Duke, was called Man-Ape, literally an African villain dressed as a gorilla. But the character of Black Panther and the world of Wakanda have developed and evolved drastically since then, particularly in the hands of black creatives like Christopher Priest and, more recently, Roxane Gay and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ryan Coogler's Afrofuturist vision is another leap in this evolution, and I was lucky enough to discuss it with Evan Narcisse, who's currently writing the origin series Rise of the Black Panther for Marvel.
The Black Panther really evolves with every instance of a black creator working on him. Billy Graham was an artist in Marvel in the 1970s, the black artist. He was the first black art director in professional comics. He drew Luke Cage and T'Challa. You look at his layouts and his pages, and you can see like the energy of somebody who wants to represent like black is beautiful on the page. All that stuff is just seething with this energy of self-love.
This movie is amazing. The first time we saw Black Panther on film was in Captain America: Civil War. Now we're taken to Wakanda, where T'Challa has to officially be crowned king after the death of his father. The vision and execution of the set design, costumes, cities, environments, and vehicles in this movie is unlike anything we've ever seen on film. And Wakanda itself, a secret, hyper-advanced African nation untouched by foreign invasion, is a metaphor for African history and achievements that have been erased by colonialism.
Wakanda is special because it was never colonized, so what we can see there for all of us, it's a reimagining of what would have been possible had Africa been allowed to realize itself for itself.
The fact that this mythology exists in a way that it never has before, you know, yeah, other things, Blade existed and other things existed, and not to take anything away from, you know, previous black superhero visions of the past, the scale matters here, you know, because it serves as validation and justification. If you're a non-white person operating in a predominantly white environment, this movie hits for you too, you know? Yes, it's very much a celebration of blackness, but it's like, okay, how do we reckon with our personal histories in the broken places, in the empty spaces, and the lack of connection that can happen when you're living these kinds of lives?
This movie also gives real, dynamic, and nuanced roles to its female characters. Letitia Wright as Shuri, Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, and Denai Guerrera as General Okoye, who all carry major parts of the action, comedy, and emotional weight of this film and really challenge T'Challa as equals.
I waited my entire life for this.
The standout character here is Michael B. Jordan's villain Killmonger. After growing up as an orphan in the United States, he's back for the throne, asking the uncomfortable and obvious question why Wakanda, with its wealth and superior technology, has never intervened on behalf of suffering Africans worldwide. This reimagining of a classic Black Panther villain allows Coogler to dive into a bunch of interesting and layered ideas that you would not expect in a mainstream blockbuster. Killmonger and T'Challa's conflict explores ideas of heritage, tradition, and tensions in the African diaspora. It raises complicated questions about solidarity, belonging, and liberation.
These are philosophical differences that have existed inside the Black community, Black American community, for literally like decades and centuries. You know, this is W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, you know, having differing philosophies about how Black Americans can move forward. This is integration versus self-determination, you know? So yes, there is a clear philosophical split, and it's great to see it acted out like this. But what this movie does is it creates a space for us to have those conversations and to do that kind of work. You know, yeah, it's a fantastical, over-the-top superhero movie, but like, it's also a movie that's grappling with, you know, Black history in the diaspora.
Killmonger is driven by the rage of being abandoned, and he wants to use his experience as a CIA assassin to literally turn the world upside down using Wakanda's advanced military tech.
Historically, like, that's all of us, you know, like, who don't know where they came from, find themselves as living lives as second-class citizens and wanting justice, you know, like, that's, on the basis of it, that's not wrong at all.
Killmonger's story is what has probably sparked the most debate around this film. A lot of people were not happy that a character who wants worldwide Black liberation is killed off with the help of Martin Freeman's white CIA agent, Everett Ross. The inclusion of the CIA as a force for good in the movie is a real sticking point. US government security agencies have historically not been a friend to black people in the United States or anywhere else in the world. Even Everett Ross explains that the CIA's role has been to historically destabilize foreign governments and freedom movements. And domestically, US government programs like COINTELPRO were designed to destroy revolutionary organizations like the Black Panther Party through surveillance, disinformation, and assassination. But we're working in the realm of superhero movies. Batman is a millionaire fascist whose main function is to assist police by brutalizing criminals and extracting confessions via torture. The Iron Man franchise is an extended redemption narrative for a white millionaire arms dealer who made his fortune selling weapons of mass destruction to the US government. Mainstream movies are escapist, generally conservative in their ideas about good and evil, and are rarely revolutionary texts. So yes, this does end up being a story about how T'Challa's benevolent liberalism beats Killmonger's hateful radicalism.
Most superheroic fiction is about maintaining the status quo, right? Like, Superman started as like a man of the people, rabble-rouser, strongman kind of dude. But, you know, he quickly became like a paternalistic father figure. And, you know, like, same thing with, like, you know, Batman and other characters like that. They maintain the status quo, the rule of law in the society in which we live, without really interrogating whether that rule of law is just, right? And, you know, the same thing happened here. Like, T'Challa represents the status quo. What we come up with at the end of the movie is incremental change, significant, right? Like, and still symbolically powerful, you know, to literally connect Wakanda back to the diaspora.
And is it fair to put so much responsibility on a comic book movie? Part of the reason this film carried so many political expectations was because it's the only thing of its kind right now. I personally think Coogler made the most subversive film possible within the constraints of a Hollywood blockbuster.
We're still like barely past tokenism at this point. It's still a drop in the bucket, right? All this pressure on all these projects to be all things to all people is a direct result of there not being enough out there. You know, like, black people exist in so many modes and styles and iterations in everyday life, you know, like, a relative handful of projects is not going to be able to reflect that, you know?
This movie is a cinematic milestone which will inform a lot of work after it, not just action or superhero movies. And the power of having an almost completely black cast of this caliber in a project of this magnitude is undeniable. At the end of the day, Ryan Coogler has made a historic piece of art. This is a cinema classic that has people feeling conflicted and debating its ideas well after seeing the movie multiple times.
You know, there are entire sciences created to prove that black people and non-white people were inferior. You know, what this movie does is, like, embraces and creates a history and an energy that counters that. You know what I'm saying? And that's super important. And yes, you know, I'm sure you've seen on Twitter, I've dealt with it a little bit, the people saying Wakanda's not real, Black Panther is fiction. But, like, what is real and what Wakanda does draw on are the practices that black people and non-white people have done to survive under white hegemony, you know? Like, so it's been using gospel songs as code to figure out where the Underground Railroad is, you know? That's some Wakandan shit. There's a whole, like, you know, history of us surviving and thriving and learning to love ourselves in a world where we are under constant threat. That's what Wakanda is, you know? Psychologically, emotionally, in the real world. And all Ryan did was put that in the movie.
Step into the spotlight.